So mining companies have spent the last few years working out what they can commit to in terms of a decarbonisation targets. So I think they've each got some clarity around what they're aiming for and when they're aiming to get to certain percentage reductions. There's quite a big difference between what people are aiming for, what they already understand, where they're, how much they've quantified where they're at, and how much they've sort of quantified the solutions that are available to them. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting journey as we apply. There's a lot of research and development going on to solve areas where there aren't ready decarbonized or ready solutions that are carbon free. So there's a lot of work happening to meet those targets. So responsible sourcing is something that's really grown as a sort of concept, and we've actually spent a couple of years working with an EU project team to try and quantify exactly what we mean by responsible sourcing and what it means to different people in different regions. And the idea being that as we mine and find battery minerals, that we can extract them more responsibly, so that there's some comfort that not only are we solving a technical problem in that we're helping people decarbonize or we're helping for a lower carbon future, but also that it's being done in a way that's not exploitative, that doesn't harm local water sources, that doesn't harm local communities. To come back to your other question though, around what it means for Africa and its outlook for commodities and critical minerals, I think we're seeing two things happening. One is that we're seeing demand for new minerals, things like lithium. We're seeing renewed demand for something like cobalt, but we're also seeing very rapid development of technology, which is creating demand for other minerals. And at the same time, we're seeing some of the impact of various sort of geopolitical crises and the impact of sanctions. And we're seeing people look for new sources of supply for traditional minerals. So people looking for new sources of rare earth elements, new sources of uranium, new sources of copper, gold, really as a way of diversifying supply and trying to manage the risk that if there are new sanctions against one of their major trading partners, that they have some alternate supply. Our journey has mirrored and hopefully in some ways led the industry or been slightly ahead of the industry, not led, where these are things that build, knowledge builds on itself. So we've gone from, for example, understanding pollution control in the sense that we measured pollution in rivers or in runoff, and now we've understood acid mine drainage, we've understood impacts on underground sources of water or underground aquifers. We've also grown that into a keen understanding of our impacts in the social space. We've understood what it takes to close a mine safely, and not only that, but how we transition communities to closure. So each of these things, as we've understood a little bit more about how we're impacting both the people and the environment around us, we've better been able to develop science around how we mitigate those impacts, how we quantify those impacts, how we take people on a journey to understand the impacts and how we're going to mitigate them, and try and gain the support of the community for the plans that we have. The first thing to understand is that we have no alternative to mining. So we have to mine. And for us as a company, I think we're a people that are passionate about mining. We like mining. We understand how essential it is, even to things like mining fertilizer for the food supply. So we appreciate that it's central to the economy. It's central to both how we address current challenges and future challenges. So it's here to stay. So given that, how do we continue the journey that we've been on to become a more responsible corporate citizen, a more responsible member of the community? How do we become a more sort of constructive and uplifting part of the community? And how do we get the community also on board with what we're doing and why it's important? Also to attract talent. You talk about the challenges that we face and the journey that we're on. So essential to that is to get young, talented, smart people to join the industry and to come up with solutions, to come up with ways of doing this more responsibly, more sustainably, to come up with ways of doing it with less waste, less impact on the community, on the environment. At the same time, we're facing a time where research is developing new technologies very rapidly. So we're seeing rapid changes in renewable energy, how it's generated, how it's transmitted, how it's stored. Battery technology has grown exponentially. And also how we build batteries has changed. So we as an industry are having to respond to very rapid changes in demand and very, even bigger price swings than we're used to, as minerals become more or less in favor in the latest technologies.